Perfect. Thanks, Chris, and thanks to the New South Wales ADTA for letting us present today. I know it's the last session of the day, and it's probably the last thing you feel like hearing about is business risk and insurance. It's that one bill you pay every year and just want to set and forget. But yeah, we just wanted to give you a bit of an introduction to your risk profile as a driver trainer or a driving school. Transferring a risk through professional indemnity and public liability insurance give you a bit more of an in-depth understanding of what you're actually purchasing when you renew every year. Some key aspects of professional indemnity and public liability that you should consider when you take out cover. You probably get your renewal notice from your broker or your provider every year. You just pay the bill, and yes, it goes up, and it's a bit of a pain, but you know, there are some really good considerations that you should take into account or be questioning your broker on. We will talk through the Fenton Green offer. We do have an offering we've had for some time for driving schools and driver trainers. And we aim to keep it interactive. So if you have any questions, save them up, and Harry at the end will hopefully walk around with a mic and we can answer them as best we can. If we can't, then we can certainly take it offline and provide our contact details for you to give us a call. So just I thought I'd give you a bit of a background of Fenton Green, and we are now part of Edgewise Insurance Brokers. Some of you in the room may know who we are. We may do your professional indemnity and public liability insurance, but we've been an industry participant in the space since about 2012. We've got a combined offering through QBE Insurance, and we do have a really deep understanding of the risk profile of a driver trainer or a driving school. We don't just do sedan vehicles. We can extend cover for bus instruction, safe driver, classroom training, four-wheel drive, motorbike, truck. There is quite an extensive list. And more recently, Fenton Green actually merged with Edgewise Insurance Brokers. So we are now part of a much larger organisation. And really the specialist part of Fenton Green of our brand now is looking after associations and providing tailored solutions to their members. So we just thought we'd give you a bit of an overview of your risk profile as a small business owner and as a, you know, an independent driver trainer, a contractor, you know, an owner of a driving school. I mean, there are two forms of insurance, insurance that provides cover for your property. I'm sure all of you here take out a policy for your dual control driver trainer vehicle. And you require that, you know, if you have a bank loan for your car, you need to make sure that, you know, if something does happen during one of your sessions, that you do have cover for that vehicle. You also have a contingent liability to your clients, the general public, your staff or your contractors, including that safety of your premises, which is probably your vehicle, and also to workers' compensation if you do have employees. We always say that, and we work with a lot of associations, if you are a member of an association, you are much better off in insurers' eyes when you apply for professional indemnity and public liability. And the reason being is, you know, the wonderful amount of CPD you're receiving today, conferences, the association vets the members and make sure that you are kept updated with changes in your, you know, your industry, and of things that come up, and legislation, that kind of thing. Professional indemnity and public liability, I don't want to bore you, but you know, it is one of the most important policies your business will maintain. And you probably think, why do I need it? I'm just a driving instructor. I run, you know, a business teaching learner drivers, you know, how to drive. But look, it is really important because, you know, you can be legally liable for people's losses. For example, we do a lot of driver trainers and we see a lot of claims, and you don't necessarily have to have done anything wrong for a professional indemnity claim to be brought against you. We unfortunately do see, you know, potential allegations of sexual misconduct, or racial abuse or discrimination. Again, you may not have done something wrong, but the consumers are very aware now. And there's a lot of lawyers such as Slater and Gordon out there that, you know, I think people are much more, they have a much more view of their consumer rights. And unfortunately, in tough economic times, it can lead to professional indemnity claims Could be as simple as, allegations of, you assess someone, they're trying to pass their truck course. They need that assessment to go through so that they can, earn an income or, be able to get a contract with their client. And, they allege that you incorrectly assessed their, test, and they bring allegations of financial loss against your business. I think it's really important as well. Professional indemnity is a little bit different to a motor vehicle policy. If you have a crash in your vehicle, you know the date in which it happened, you call your insurer and they arrange the repairs in order to get you back on the road. With professional indemnity insurance, it is what we call claims-made policy. So, you might have done the lesson 6 months ago, but the client may not bring it against you for 2 years because they're seeking legal advice. So you really need to make sure if you retire, you sell your business, unfortunately have ill health and you can no longer practice, that you maintain professional indemnity insurance. And you can do that through a run-off policy, and we'll talk about that further through the presentation. Public liability, again, it covers, that third-party loss. So, sometimes you just might have a lapse in judgment. You're running a session. You glance down at your phone because you've got a notification, you forget to tell a learner driver to stop or, use your dual controls in time. Unfortunately, there is, a property damage that occurs, and, that person that car that you crash into, their insurer looks to recover off you. And it can be as well property damage, again, potentially. You just have a lapse in judgment. There's a pedestrian, the learner driver, you don't tell them to stop in time, and unfortunately they hit that person, and they're the TAC, or there is compensation payable if that person can't work or they break their leg and they have some kind of out-of-pocket medical expenses. So a couple of key questions we always say to clients, and it's really hard to determine what professional indemnity cover you need in terms of the limits. But some key things to think about is, we know a lot of the driver trainers that we insure have requirements with the RACV, for example, of say 5 million professional indemnity. And if you are dealing with like higher net wealth clients, like, they're learner drivers, sometimes they have more financial means to come after you. So you might want to, consider your client base or the area in which you practice in when determining what level of cover you require. Sometimes your association will provide you guidance on that as well. But also too, professional indemnity insurance claims, from our experience, are one of the most stressful things any practitioner, driver trainer, allied health practitioner, accountant can deal with. And you want to make sure that you have a partner in your broker and your insurer, so that if something does go wrong, you notify your insurer and they manage that process for you. They have teams of lawyers that do this day in, day out. So it's really important that you pick a good broker that has good experience and understands your risk as a driver trainer. If you do services outside of just sedan, they understand that and it's noted on your policy. Risk, in business, it's really hard. You can try and do everything to mitigate your risk, to try and avoid professional indemnity claims. Sometimes it's not possible. But we have some key tips to sort of manage the risk within your business. And some of them are really basic. Things like having documentation in place for a client, having disclaimers, having agreements for each client that you see, and, keeping records, making sure you've got file notes. Because if something does happen, if you have allegations of sexual misconduct or racial discrimination, the first thing the insurer is going to ask for is that file. And if you've got a well-documented file, then it does assist in defending these matters. Knowing your mandate. This is an interesting one. We do multidisciplinary driving schools. So, you might do 95% sedan, 10% bus assessment. You've got all the qualifications to do it. You just don't do it very often. And typically what we see is in professional indemnity claims, if you don't practice in that all the time, sometimes that's where mistakes are made on, you don't do, say, truck assessments all the time, and you do one because someone asked you to do it, it's been a good client, you don't want to let them down. Sometimes typically that's where the professional indemnity insurance claims come from. So sometimes it just might not be worth it. It might just be worth saying, hey, look, I know another trainer, here's their details, give them a call. They do it day in, day out. Reviewing your clients list regularly, and it may be a little bit different, I guess, in your kind of industry, but if you've got to learn a driver, they're just a bit of a pain. They give you a hard time. They think they're a lot better than, or where their expectations of where they are is not where you think they are, and they're not paying your bills potentially. Sometimes it's just easier to get rid of them, because sometimes those clients are the ones to cause you complaints, hassles, and potential professional indemnity claims. So sometimes just say no, or just, if you have a difficult client, you do one session with them, you might just want to say, look, sorry, I'm just not the right trainer for you. Maybe go and contact someone else that might be better versed to deal with you. Knowing your partners and employees, if you are a driving school, you are responsible for your contractors or your employees. So they are the face of your company if they are, providing sessions with your clients. If something does happen, the claim would be brought against your business. So it's really important that they know the ethics of the business, your processes, they're professional, and that they uphold good standards. Because if something does happen, the policy is, or the claim is going to be made against your business. Managing, you've got obligations, code of practice, just be professional. The amount of complaints that we see come across our desk in all professions at Fenton Green is quite astounding. You just got to be professional at all times, even if the client, is very difficult. You've just really got to, as a small business owner, be professional, because you don't want complaints or, potential defamation claims, Facebook, social media. Just make sure you maintain that professionalism and don't post in public forums about, your clients or, potential competitors, because it could lead to potential defamation claims against your business. Again, having the appropriate insurance in place to ensure that if something does happen, you've got a good partner there. And like I said before, having your membership with the New South Wales ADTA is really important. They have standards that you have to uphold and certain requirements of becoming a member. So it's really important that you uphold those memberships. Like I said, there are some considerations that you should look at when taking out a professional indemnity policy, or potentially when your policy renews next year. It might be worth just running through with your broker and making sure that you are actually adequately covered. Some simple things are just so basic, but if they're not noted on a policy, there can be issues when it comes to claim time. Like I said before, your limit of indemnity, make sure you have the, appropriate limit of cover for contracts that you hold. Think about the types of clients or the types of instruction you provide. If it is more higher risk, for example, motorcycle instruction, you might want to hold a higher limit of cover. Excesses or deductibles, make sure that you take a policy where you can confidently pay, an excess if there is a claim. There's no point having a policy with a $5,000 excess that, should something happen and the insurer asks for that excess, if you don't have the cash flow, you will be asked to pay it. Insured persons, making sure your policy does actually extend to cover any employees, directors and contractors of the company. We understand that a lot of driving schools, for example, have contractors. They provide services, on behalf of that company. Again, if something happens, the contract that you have with your client or that agreement, they're going to bring a claim against your business. The insurer may then look to recover off the contractor, but essentially that initial claim will come against your business. So not all insurers do cover contractors, so just double check the policy wording or check with your broker. Having things like your legal entity name is really important, making sure that if you're a proprietary limited company, you've got that noted on the policy, or if you're a sole trader, having a trading name, just ABC Driving School, is not good enough. It's not a legal entity. You need to make sure you've got full proprietary limited company, or if you trade as a sole trader, your full name noted as per the ABN lookup. Trust as well, we can't insure a trust, so just make sure, double check your policy documents, and if it's not correctly noted, go back to your broker or your insurance provider. Covered services are really important. If you do things outside of sedan driving, if a claim comes in from bus instruction and it's not noted, sometimes if there's any grey areas, the insurer may decline the claim. So make sure all professional service, past and present, are noted on that policy. Because if you've done bus instruction in the past and you do sedan now, claim comes in from 3 years ago, you've got a certificate that only says sedan driving, well, the insurer is going to go, well, there's no cover affordable here. Retroactive cover, this is in relation to cover for past work. Make sure that, if you are moving insurers, if they have a retroactive date of the date of inception of that policy, then essentially that means there's no cover for past work. So make sure that you have an unlimited retroactive cover is the best to have. Because, if you have an inception of the policy, then you will essentially have no cover for past work, only cover for moving from that date moving forward. Run-off cover, like I said before, professional indemnity insurance is what we call a claims-made policy. So if you do retire or, you cease to practice, there is no cover once you let that policy lapse or cancel it. Fenton Green does have some provision for run-off cover for 12 months after you cease trading. So just double check with your insurance provider their stance on run-off cover. Sometimes you do have to pay for it, but it's worth having that peace of mind. Look, claims do happen, and especially in times of change or difficult economic times, there can be increase in professional indemnity claims. People are desperate, they're on their knees, and consumers are much more aware of their rights. So we have actually seen an uptick and an increase in complaints and claims since COVID-19. These, like I said, they can be fictitious, allegations of sexual misconduct, saying that they should have passed this truck assessment and that you were negligent and they've suffered a financial loss. So we do see a lot that come across our desk. It's worth notifying your insurer if, you have a grumpy conversation or receive, an email from a client that says, I'm not happy with this assessment, I think you're negligent. Call your broker as soon as you receive something like that so they can best let you know what the process is to lodge a matter with the insurer. There does need to be, generally with a professional indemnity claim, what we call a formal demand for compensation. So a letter or an email that outlines the loss as a result of your professional services as a driver trainer. I thought I'd just give you a bit of an update on where the insurance market sits in 2023, sorry. And I mean, as you probably appreciate, everything is going up at the moment with inflation. In the professional indemnity space, we have been in what we call a hard market for probably the last 3 to 4 years, meaning that insurers are just not making money on professional indemnity on certain professions. So for every dollar that they make in premium, they could be paying out $1, $1.50, $1.80. So we have really seen an increase in premiums to stabilise, that return for the insurer. Interest rates have been low, so insurers haven't had that avenue. But yeah, at the moment, I mean, look, Fenton Green's premiums have been fairly flat for a number of years. We really make sure that when we insure people that, we're not taking on extenuating risk so that we can keep the premiums low and make sure that our underwriter is making a profit. But with inflation, unfortunately, all premiums have gone up, as you've probably seen on your home and contents policies recently. I'll just quickly touch off on our offering that we do have available. I don't want to make this a product blog or a sales pitch, but we do have a specific offering tailored for driving schools or driver trainers. It is through QBE, and they've been a long-standing partner of ours since about 2012. We have limits of professional indemnity of 2, 5 and 10 million, and that includes an automatic public liability of 20 million. We can offer motor vehicle instruction, safe driver training, classroom instruction, truck instruction, off-road, motor vehicle, motorcycle, bus driving, etc. It is all subject to CEDA underwriting guidelines and claims history, etc. It is fully digital, so you can jump onto our website, click on the driver training page, you can get a quick quote, and then you can go through and complete the documentation. And once you pay for the policy, your documentation is emailed to you instantly. So I won't keep you too long. I know we're kind of probably running over and everyone wants to get home today, but just in summary of our session, it's really important that you do maintain memberships. It is really seen in a good light with the insurers that you are a member of an association, and it gives you good tools to assist you in your business. Ensuring you have a good advisor network relationship with your underwriter and broker. These are your partners in the event of a claim, and you really want to have them in your corner. So make sure if there's anything in this presentation today that's flagged about your entity name, your services, contact your broker and make sure they're fully aware of your business. You should be reviewing this every year. I know you get the piece of paper or the invoice and you just pay it, but you should take a good look at what you're actually covered for and make sure it covers your whole business. We are still in a challenging insurance market, and I understand that not all insurers are able to write the liability for driver trainers presently. So, maintaining those points above should stand you in good stead in terms of obtaining that policy. Is there any questions in the room?
I'm just off on that spot there, mate.
I'll get you.
Hang on. Just give me a round about. Can you hear me okay?
Well, even not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, hear me. Okay. It's Matthew from PCY. So you've actually helped me out with an email. I'm looking at an email between you and I back in August, just confirming that you can in fact obtain PI and PL cover for someone who is exclusively working in classroom-based training environments. So someone who is only, for example, a Module 1 SDC facilitator can be covered.
Yes, we do have. We've had that included under our offering. Yeah.
And I've sent a few people your way with that because I think even though everyone thinks, obvious risk is in a car on the road, that's where things are likely to go wrong. But if you're a person who is only doing, and if some of us employ anyone or we've got contractors working for us that are just doing that, for the sake of it, and I think the quote came in roughly, everyone's circumstances will be different, Monique, but $275 was what it would cost to insure yourself if you're just doing that classroom stuff. So that's very, very cheap peace of mind, I would think.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, no, definitely.
Thanks.